Hello lords and ladies, welcome back to Cartoon Hangout for my review of the most recent episode of Be Cool Scooby-Doo, which is several days late, I'm sorry. If you missed today's previous Cartoon Hangout video, I explained that I was in danger of going over my internet allowance, and they charge you for that, and I couldn't have that. But anyway, on to the episode Be Quiet Scooby-Doo. The episode features a gang stopping at the Crystal Canopy, a tourist hotspot that features some incredibly beautiful crystals. I think it's just because of the use of crystals in the name that this reminded me of Crystal Cove, the home of Scooby and the gang in the previous iteration of Scooby-Doo. I doubt there's any connection besides crystal being in the name. The gang decide to solve what is scaring away the scientists researching the crystals, and who this crystal crawler really is. Now, as far as I'm aware, the crystal crawler isn't a reimagining of any past monster, so I'm going to go out on a limb and claim this is a new monster. As always, feel free to make me put up an annotation when I'm eventually proven wrong. The fun idea behind this episode is that the crystals are insanely sensitive to noise, so you can't even whisper.
Darren, what is wrong with you? The crystals react to sound, even whispering.
You're whispering?
I'm whispering to tell you not to whisper.
It's still whispering.
At first, I thought the gang would have to be completely silent, and we'd get no dialogue. But of course, that isn't the case. This is Be Cool Scooby-Doo after all. They'll think everything in their heads. Unfortunately for Fred, the gang never listened to his explanation of hand signs, so their first trip down into the caves was very aggravating. To him, at least. Daphne's shtick this time around didn't really seem like much, namely her obsession with believing she has psychic powers. Unlike her previous ones, I didn't really dig this one. It's not that I necessarily hated it, no, but it got old pretty fast. Honestly, it seemed that in this episode, Velma was the one channeling her inner Daphne, as she completely went crazy trying to protect the crystals from her friends. Of course, her attempts at being the crystal crawler were lackluster, and even Daphne's psychic powers couldn't detect what Velma was trying to do. Right, Daphne? Right. In the end, the monster turned out to be Coulson McCready, the man who first discovered the caves and opened the tour. That actually surprised me, as up until that point, everything seemed to point to Velma's old professor, Dr. Lang, who wanted people to not go into the caves in order to protect the crystals. This was an okay episode, in my opinion. The entire idea behind forcing the gang to work together without speaking was interesting. Unlike previous episodes, though, some of the jokes this time around either weren't all that funny or they just went on too long. The whole right, left, wrong joke in the beginning of this episode was an example of the latter. I mean, I get the idea behind the joke. It's sort of like the who's on first joke, just a little less funny because of how long it drags on. That's about the only negative thing I'm going to say about the episode. On the positive side of things, Velma almost seemingly getting high off the crystals was easily one of the highlights of this episode. Velma is usually a lot more collected, and to see her just, well, lose it was hilarious. Another point in the positive column was the chase soundtrack. The chase music in Scooby-Doo rarely seems to fit what's going on in that episode, but that doesn't mean it's not pleasant to listen to. If you have the app Shazam, you should definitely see what song that was. I suppose I could just tell you what song that was, but nah. Before we wrap up this video, it is worth noting that Scooby-Doo says his iconic catchphrase for the first time in this series.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo?
That took longer than I expected. Anyway, that's been my review of episode 7. Did you like it more than I did? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow as I try to catch up with these late reviews. Take care.